Good afternoon, everyone. I have 5 o'clock on Monday, August 26th, and I'm calling the Education Operations Committee meeting to order. I'm seeking a motion to approve the minutes of June 24th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, public and student comment, if we have anyone. None? With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 4. Mr. Vagut, Assistant Superintendent of Operations, is presenting a summary report presenting all legal counsel expenses incurred during 2023-2024. The report is broken down by law firm and by type of legal advice sought. This is a written report that requires no action. You want to make a comment?
Just that I think that if you scroll down just a tiny bit more, you can see that we were just a little over 108,000 for the year, and that the budget was about 95,000. So that's it.
And that is very quick. Thank you very much. For agenda item number 5 already, approve the list of legal firms' estimated time as what we usually go, very short. The presented summary list of legal firms the district makes use of for a variety of necessary legal needs.
So I think you
summed right on.
Yep, you summed it up.
I'm seeking a motion to approve the attached list of law firms the board and the district shall access for legal services deemed necessary by the superintendent of schools or his designee.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. Item number 6, setting the annual meeting date and location. Administration asked the Education Operations Committee of the whole to recommend to the board a date, time, and location for the budget hearing and annual meeting, thus allowing full board approval in a timely manner. This will allow all notices and timelines to be met for an annual meeting between May 15th and October 31st, pursuant to statute 120.08-1A. Any comments about that? Any? Not? I'm seeking a motion to approve Monday, September 23rd, 2024 as the date for the 2024-25 budget hearing and annual meeting. The meeting will be held at 6 in the Nicholson Boardroom at Longfellow Administration Center, beginning with the budget hearing followed by the annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Was there a question? No. Okay. Item number 7, prior to October 1st, only equalized valuations from municipalities are available. In order to project property value changes by school district, an assumption must be made that all property values in any given municipality change in a uniform manner. With this assumption, the district's property value is projected to increase 9.98% for 2024-25 mill rate calculation purposes. Certified property value will not be available until October 1st. Given projected property value will be used for the initial budget and during the annual meeting. Any comments at all?
If it is okay with you, for the next couple of things, before you approve them, I'd just like to walk through the presentation. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Perfect. So we will walk through the budget as well as the recommendation, the initial budget recommendation, along with the initial tax levy recommendation. So where we are in the budget calendar, highlighted in red there, you saw the initial budget in May and June. We have a little more information now, so we bring you a more up-to-date estimated budget. And then in September, we have the annual meeting. And then in October, we find out a couple more things, and we actually adopt the final budget and the tax levy. So that's where we are in the calendar. We are projecting to have both our mill rate and our levy go down this year overall. So just so you guys know. As Mr. Boucher mentioned, our equalized value estimates are estimated to go up just about 10%, 9.98% across the district. Later in the presentation, you will see the breakdown between the various townships, villages, and the city of how those estimates changed. Last year was something like 9.08%, and the year before was about 11%. So 3 straight years of pretty significant equalized value changes. So this is broken down by taxable district. You can see all of them listed there on the left. Along with on the bottom there, you have the $5.6 billion number. That is last year's equalized value. And on the bottom right, we have this year's equalized value moving up closer to $6.2 billion. And you can see how the various changes happen across townships, villages, and cities. So that total number is about 9.98%. Any questions on that? Okay, you can move on to the next slide. This is our estimate for how the tax levy will break down. So the tax levy total is that $45,763,554 amount you see down there on the bottom right, which is going down 7.72% from last year. Across the bottom, you can see the breakdown by levy funds: general fund, debt service fund, community service fund. And then if you go on the left, working across, those are the certified values estimates, again, for the various townships and municipalities, and the percent of the overall equalized value that they have. So these are estimates. We will get the levy adoption at the end of October, and we won't get the Department of Revenue's finalized certified values until I think October 1st, something like that. So these, again, are just estimates. It should be noted that the district only sets the tax levy. The district does not influence how the townships distribute their taxes. So that's all we do is set the levy. What are a couple things that are happening in the budget cycle? And you guys are pretty well aware of this because we cover it all the time about what's happening in the budget this year. We did have higher health insurance costs for the second year in a row. So that ate into a little bit of our fund balance and led to premium increases. We also had high CPI, not as high as the previous year, but higher than our revenue limit increase. So it was just over 4%. Salary increases were 3%. We had limited one-time ESSER funding for the last number of years in response to COVID. That will sunset at the end of September, so that will no longer be available to us. That's a significant challenge for all districts across the state and the country. Again, we have that deficit budget of approximately $1.5 million. Move on. Some opportunities or some positive things. We did have a revenue limit increase this year, following a number of years prior to last year where there was no revenue limit increase. So that's good. That means our overall maximum revenue limit did increase. So that's great. And we do have the 2 referendums that were successful in 21 and 22. One was a operating referendum, which added $4 million annually to our revenue limit capacity. And the other was the capital referendum that we've been working through. And although we do not have an unlimited fund balance, we do currently have a strong fund balance that will allow us to take this deficit budget head on and be okay without any short-term borrowing this year. Move on. So this just shows you our revenue limit, our per pupil revenue limit over time, over the last 10 or so years. And you can see the increase, and then the light blue is the revenue limit, the dark blue is the per pupil categorical aid. So those are 2 different funding mechanisms, both come to the school district. And just noting that during the next 2 months, we will finalize staffing, hopefully sooner than later. we will get that certified district property value, state equalization aid per pupil count. So that will help determine our membership. It's part of a 3-year rolling average, so will help. And then we will get updated voucher cost. You move to the next slide, please. This is the exact same slide, or should be. The only difference is you can see that gold yellow line. So it looks like our revenue has increased significantly over time. It certainly has increased, but when you compare it to what's happened to inflation, you'll notice that we've fallen behind every single year, over and over, and that just compounds. So we're about $2,500 behind per student, depending on how you calculate it. We have about 8,000 students. So if you do that math, it's a lot of money that we're missing out on this year. I just wanted to point that out. Next slide, please. Oh, you can skip this slide. So we're looking at the actual expense and revenue numbers. This is for the general fund. So it's the main fund we talk about, funds 10, 27, 11. You will notice that for this year, our expenses estimated to go up about 481,000 to just over 118.6 million, and our revenue is expected to go down a little bit, almost 300,000. So that's what causes that gap versus last year's deficit budget versus this year's deficit budget. Total revenue limit did go up, but not as much as our kind of taking back what we don't get anymore from ESSER funding. So that's why you see the overall decrease in revenue. And I think it's really important to notice for the rest of the conversation that our state general aid did go up significantly, almost 10%, $6.7 million year over year. So in 23-24, we're at that $69 million number. And this year, our estimate, which could still change, is about 76 million. So it's a significant increase, and that will play out as we talk about our tax levy going forward. Please go back. So at this point, it would be appropriate to motion on the recommended general fund budget of $118,625,616 for expenses, and $117,141,590 for revenue.
And with that, as he has stated the amount of money, I'm seeking a motion to recommend to the Board of Education a preliminary 2024-2025 general fund budget of those numbers that have been stated.
So moved. Second.
Questions at this point in time? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next part.
So we'll move into our little bit of levy information along with the mill rate. So we'll move to the graphic, and that shows over time our total tax levy for the district. So you can see that it's been fairly steady between near 40 million last year up to about 49 million. This year, the tax levy will come down to closer to $45 million. So it'll decrease that 7.72% we've talked about. With the increased equalized value in the district, along with our increased state aid, we will see a continued trend of the falling mill rate. You can go forward. Actually, we can jump back for 1 second, I'm sorry. Something that we will see in future slides is that we are going to continue our debt defeasance strategy of prepaying our debt. This saves taxpayers millions of dollars in the long run, so it helps us manage our mill rate. Please move forward. So a little bit about debt defeasance strategies. Basically, we prepay our debt, as I mentioned, in order to, in the long term, save taxpayers money. During this 6-year period that we've been pursuing this strategy, we've retired over $54 million in future debt and saved over $7 million in interest payments for the public. And then moving down to the bottom, we're going to look at our mill rate over time, and you can see that it's fallen pretty steeply, and that will continue this year. down from 883 last year to 741 this year.
Josh,
Yes, please.
one question on the debt defeasance. Do we have flexibility in that? Whereas if we chose not to pay down early, we could use that money for operation expenses?
That's a great question. Yeah. We do not have that flexibility. So the way it's broken out is by fund, and the general fund tax levy is basically the total revenue limit less your state aid. So that's the general fund levy. And then the debt defeasance is a totally different fund that we can only use to pay off our capital debt. So we cannot use one to cover the other. It's a great question. We could potentially, if we were to choose to go to referendum in future years, we could defease less and so not have a tax impact on the public if we were to go to operating referendum.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, so we're actually going to look at the recommendations for the 24-25 tax levy. On the far left is the information for last year, where we ended up, and then we have the 24-25 information that I'll walk through. So for the general fund levy, it will go down almost $4 million to $20,597,589, down 16%. Our debt service levy will change very little, down to $24,373,765. And then I did want to bring your attention to the community service levy. That will increase by $130,000. You'll remember a couple months ago, Police Chief Barnes and our SROs came and talked to you about the excellent program that they do. And the board approved a percent increase of what we are contributing to that contract. So that is reflected in the levy that you see there. The community service levy pays for a number of things that serve both our students and the greater community, and the SRO program is one of those things. I also wanted to point out that you see the debt service levy does include about $2 million worth of payments on energy efficiency programs that the district pursued a number of years ago. So that is basically a debt payment that we have that we will have this year and I think 1 or 2 more years. And then it does include that $15 million to pay future debt obligations. And that's all I have on that.
So we're ready for the motion.
Ready
correct?
for the motion.
I'm seeking a motion to recommend to the Board of Education a projected tax levy of $45,763,554 for presentation at the annual meeting and budget hearing on September 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question.
Questions?
The communities, could you give us the list of things that are allowable under the community service levy?
I certainly can.
SRO is
Yep.
obviously one of those.
Yeah, I know. We fund part of our G2M program through it. I can get you a full list, not off the top of my head.
Sure.
But you can, districts use it for a number of interesting purposes. Some of our neighboring districts use it to fund their middle school athletics, which is a neat thing that those districts have chosen to do. So we certainly can get that for you.
Okay.
Is that possible by the next meeting to have that?
Yeah, certainly. Yep,
And do it for the whole board?
sure.
Yeah, okay. Put it in board books. Okay. Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Josh, if you want to continue on, it's
Go to
back
the
in
next slide.
your court.
I think that's it. I would take any questions that you have about the budget. And I would also like to thank our business office, Noel Tortson, Jen Bonke. They do a fantastic job. It's a ton of work to put not only this information together, but our entire budget book, which you see brought up on the screen there and is available in the documents on board book. So thank them. Any questions? Then that is all I have.
Are you going to give us a little bit of a talking to about the district construction updates?
It's
Anything like that?
Nick Anderson is here from Nexus.
I just want to make sure, since we have you here,
Yep,
just
thank
keep
you.
rolling and move into the next agenda item.
So Nick's here, and with school starting next week, we thought it'd be an appropriate time for him to come and give us a little update.
All right, well, thank you everyone for having me here. Like Mr. Vigut said, with everything taking place this summer, just a real quick recap of the work that has been completed, some things that are still ongoing, and then a few things that are coming up next. So as everybody I'm sure is aware, there was a lot of construction taking place throughout the school district this summer. For the most part, things have gone very well. A few hiccups, which is the nature of the beast when it comes to construction. There's been a few material deliveries, delays that we've had to find a little bit of some workarounds and make sure that we can get the buildings ready for student and staff starting today and students coming next week. So with that being said, there's a quick bulleted list up on the screen there, and I'll just kind of walk through. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions on any of the specific items. So starting with the John Muir Middle School, the music addition, which is kind of the one photo on there, the radius building that you see, that has been complete and handed over for school use. And then the office addition, which would be, as we're looking at that photo to the left, that took place this summer. It was a big undertaking in a short period of time, but that has now been handed over. The furniture was delivered last week, kind of putting the final finishes on there as we speak. This week yet, but people are able to use their spaces right now. The interior renovations for phase 2. So if you guys remember way back when we looked at the phasing of John Muir, there was basically a lot of work in phase 1, which was kind of the the east side of the building, and then this summer would have been the renovations on the east side of the west side of the building. So those are 98% done. There's a few small finishes taking place. We're talking about some material deliveries. There was some casework that showed up incorrectly. So we've had to make do with what we had locally available to us to make sure that the classrooms are ready. There's a few small items, some carpet finishes, some paint finishes, the type of things that we run into when you take on a construction project like this. So we refer to them as punch list items taking place. In the locker room renovation, that was kind of the last space that we were planning on finishing up this summer. That's taking place as we speak and should be ready for students to use on Tuesday, the brand new locker room renovation. The building roof replacement, once again, something people don't necessarily notice when they're looking at the building, but that's 95% complete. There's a couple small spots that are going to tie into the forthcoming additions so that we can, when those additions are built, that final roofing replacement will take place as well. And then all the interior lighting that was to get changed to LED has been completed inside the building. The exterior paving, that picture happened to be taken when they were just started paving on the parent drop-off loop right there. So that was just a couple days ago. As of right now, it has been completely paved. Obviously, with these very hot temperatures we're having, we're going to want to stay off of it for a few days to try to protect it and give it time to firm up. Exterior concrete and landscaping around the areas where the building is finished are complete. You should start seeing grass grow out there real shortly. And then the fitness addition is currently in progress. You can probably see the masonry work taking place if you drive by there. And then the multi-purpose addition on the northwest side of the building is also in progress. Precast panels for that addition. That's going to be taking place probably within the next week. It's scheduled for later this week, but knowing with this hot weather, we may have gotten pushed back a couple days because some crews were not able to work today due to the conditions, and possibly tomorrow as well. So within the next week when you drive by there, it's going to look a lot different where that fitness addition, because that part goes very quick. Any questions?
Just a question for
Yeah.
when you put down bituminous and that, and the heat is as hot as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we were in a position where we're starting school,
Yep.
what would be an alternative plan?
If
How
the
would
bituminous
we
wasn't
drop
put-
our students off?
We probably would not pave if there wasn't enough time to get it to here before the
Okay.
buses came on, and just leave a gravel drive
So
until the timing
hopefully
was
we
right.
get to northern Wisconsin type of weather quickly here.
Yeah, well, John Muir finished putting down on Saturday.
Okay.
So, and in addition to cool temperatures helping that cure, it's actually UV light helps it cure as well. So the hot temperatures maybe slow it down a little bit, but it is still curing even though it is this hot. So
Just
we're gonna-
curious.
Yeah, tomorrow night is the open house at John Muir, and we're going to ask that the parents don't drive on the new asphalt that was just laid. If it was 60 degrees out and it it was placed on Saturday, we'd say go for it, but we'd hate to see the new asphalt get beat up by tire tracks right away.
Good, thank you.
Anything else at John Muir? Otherwise, we can talk about West. Once again, a lot of work took place at West since last time we met. The front addition and auditorium addition are 98% complete. It's been handed over to the staff for use. They've all been moved in there for over a week. The auditorium remodel is complete and handed over for school use. The first floor summer 2024 renovation is complete, and the reason I break it out that way is there is still additional renovations on the first floor to take place, but it wasn't part of this summer's work. The third floor renovations, which is basically all the work we'll be doing on the third floor in the school, is complete as well. The west parking lot has been handed over, and I know when I was there earlier today, it's being fully utilized, so that was good to see. The loading dock, back where the food trucks and the deliveries and the receiving area has been installed, there is still some pavement to be installed there, assuming this week goes as planned. You know, this weather's thrown a little bit of a curveball, but it should be fully paved by this weekend. And then one thing you probably don't notice, because it's kind of on the back side of the addition, or of the building, is the fitness addition is in progress, and walls are actually standing at this point. Before too long, the steel will be going up and the roof will be installed. And then the main office remodel phases and projects. So that was the existing main office. So that everybody has moved out of there that was going to move out of there. They're into the new space, and we're currently in the demo phase of that and the inside of the building, which it worked out great because a lot of the noisy and dusty stuff we were able to get done before school, before students are back in school. We'll continue to be working in there throughout the school year, but a lot of call it the heavy lifting and the noisy and dirty work is going to be complete before they get there.
Nick, just one question on West. Is there any impact during this upcoming school year of classroom availability?
Not during this phase that we're in
Okay.
right now. I would have to go back to the phasing plan and see.
Okay.
We might-
I had heard from some students that they said there was a question over whether or not there was going to be enough homeroom capacity or some classroom things.
Yeah, we wouldn't affect any
And okay.
classrooms, at least going into the fall.
Okay.
So, but
Good.
in the next phase, I know I had shared that phasing map. I don't know if it ever came to you or not, but I can
It
certainly
might
send
have.
it
No,
again if you'd
like I said, I was just curious. I heard it. Thought I'd bring it here.
You hear a lot of things when you walk around these sites.
Oh my goodness.
Do that.
Too
Did
many.
I miss, did you say approximately when the fitness edition would be done?
Fitness edition is, I'm going off my memory here, but scheduled to be handed over the end of May. So then at that point, they would be able to move out of the gymnasium into the fitness area to allow the finishes in the gymnasium. 'Cause
Okay,
it's,
so Viad will be affected with the fourth court, the south court, all year then? in
if you
some
choose to leave that fitness equipment there,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Yep. And one of the bigger reasons is actually because of the way the HVAC is run through there, that we can't get air into that fitness edition until we can take down the system that feeds the gym as well. So there's a rather large tie-in that needs to take place where the buildings are adjoining each other, so, and a replacement of the air handler.
Okay.
And then the West High School multi-purpose field, if anybody's driven by there, you can see it looks a little bit different than it did a month ago. So basically, all the site removals are complete, so meaning getting rid of the turf or the grass and the topsoil. The base has been prepped. The storm piping is roughly 75% complete. These are things you don't see when the fields are done, but need to be underneath it to make sure that the water is migrating away from the field. And then the other thing, probably didn't notice, but the light pole bases are set as well, so.
Did we, I guess related to the fields, did we complete the drainage this year in the
outfield?
the baseball and the softball that we were going to do?
Yeah. As far as I know, that has been completed, and that we're currently working on the grass coming back in the outfield.
Okay.
So we will be ready for baseball and
Yep.
softball in the spring.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing, is making sure
Weather.
they got the turf.
Weather accommodating, but yes.
Well, exactly.
And I guess I've been out at those fields and would echo what Josh said. They're
Okay.
they're in the process of doing their final seating and that, so.
Good. Thank you.
Thomas Jefferson Elementary School, we had the front office renovation there, 95% complete. It's handed over for school use right now. There is some glazing, so glass and doors still coming in yet this week. That was a material delivery that's real close, but should be installed prior to school starting. And then the exterior site work, everything in front of the school that the students will be using right away is complete. That new parking lot is going to get finished up here in the next few weeks. In Maine Elementary School, front office renovation is 90% complete, so really very similar to Jones, where there's some parts and pieces for the doors and the glass that are coming in and should be installed hopefully tomorrow. And then exterior site work, the decision was made to actually extend that fire lane next year to avoid having the construction equipment out there while the students are back at school. And then G.D. Jones Elementary, the front office renovation is 80% complete, so it's all ready for the doors and the glass, but they are physically not on site yet. So once again, they're supposed to be delivered tomorrow. Any questions on those elementaries? And I guess, skipped over East a little bit here, so go back to East. Site work is 90% complete. For those that were there this morning, I know there was a pretty good sized staff gathering out there. They were finishing part of the pavement. With this hot weather, they actually had to quit working today because they can only work to a certain temperature, and then they have to quit putting the asphalt down. So they'll be back there tomorrow morning. Hopefully they can get it all done before the heat index hits 93, because that's the point they need to quit working. So, and then the front office renovation is 95% complete, just a few little finishing touches, some flooring transition, some base taking place in there. I know I was there earlier today, and staff is utilizing the area. EEA renovation is 98% complete and handed over for school use. There was a little bit of carpet they were short in one room, so that's why I gave it 98% complete there. And then the theatrical storage building, if anybody's seen that, the slab has been poured and the structure is up, so now it's time to start putting on the finishes, the wall paneling and the roof paneling. So that'll be continue taking place here in the next month or so. And that's what I have for an update for some of the items that were done this summer. So.
Appreciate it. Are there any other questions pertaining to the updates that are taking place?
I'm just curious to know what happens with that topsoil you remove from the Wausau West.
Yeah.
What happens to all that topsoil?
In this case, the contractor took possession of it. So he either sold it to somebody else or brought it to one of his pits.
Thank you.
Yep.
Their bidding process is so detailed that is included
Well, yeah,
actually in the process.
Get rid
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, there was during the bidding process an option for the school to maintain those soils, but it wasn't financially probably the right decision. So, oh, and then I guess on a future note, Horace Mann has been bid. We have received our bids back. We're right now in our contract qualification process, and happy to say that the project is currently under budget, and we foresee it being that way as contracts get issued in the next week or so.
That almost deserves an applause. Under budget. I appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. Anything added to this, Mr. Busher?
Not for the construction update at all. Just had two quick announcements aside from that.
Go ahead.
All right, just two quick announcements. I'd like to welcome Ralph Williams. Ralph is our new interim director of technology. He's in the room with us, so welcome Ralph to the district. And the other message is just to let the board know that our teaching staff is back in the district. We had our welcome back with all of our staff, all of our teaching staff at Wausau East this morning. We braved the elements and the heat that were there. The teachers were troopers. I had an opportunity to walk around the buildings today, and our teachers are getting after it from a teaching strategy at Wausau West. It was fun to see they're already collaborating and discussing what their lessons are going to look like. Same with the staff at Wausau East. So we're back in flow, and it's game time. So that's mine.
Getting right at it. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And at this time, we'll roll into our special meeting for Monday, August 26th. I bring that to order. First agenda item is to approve consent agenda, appointments, additional staff, replacement staff, contract increases, separations, resignations, contract decreases, terminations, leaves of absence, and retirements. I'm seeking a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 3, requesting for a closed session pursuant to state statutes regarding potential litigation, 19.85G, and evaluation and goals of interim superintendent of schools, state statute 19.851C. I'll need a roll call vote, please, to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, now it's roll call. right?
There we go.
Sarah Brock,
Yes.
John Creasure,
Yes.
Pat McKee,
Yes.
Jennifer Paoli,
Yes.
Joanna Reyes,
Yes.
Jane Roosh,
Yes.
Corey Sillers,
Yes.
Lance Trollope,
Yes.
Jim Boucher.
Yes. Thank you very much, and we'll meet in the other room, correct?